Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me for episode 58 of Untold Evidence. Today, our journey starts on the 16th of July, 1969. A Saturn V rocket, or Saturn V rocket, depending on how you want to say it, the most powerful machine ever built by human beings, lifts off from the Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. Its destination is the moon, and the world is watching. Standing in the Launch Operations Center that morning is the rocket's chief designer, a West German immigrant, NASA director of the Marshall Space Flight Center, American hero, the famous or infamous Wernher von Braun. Now, what the world watching does not know, what most of the Americas do not know, is that Wernher von Braun was once a member of the Schutzstaffel, the SS. He held the rank of the Sturmbannführer. He had personally inspected the underground Mittelwerk facilities where his earlier rocket, the V2, was built using slave labour from concentration camps called Dora. He was one of approximately 1,600 German scientists, engineers and technicians that the United States deliberately imported with the Nazi affiliation whitewashed from their official record in a covert operation that ran 14 years. Tonight is the night we cover Operation Paperclip. Buckle up for this one, because we're going to start in the 20th of July, 1945. The war in Europe has been over for less than 3 months. The war in the Pacific is ongoing. The United States Joint Chief of Staff established a program initially called Operation Overcast. The stated objective to bring German scientific specialists to the United States temporarily to assist in defeating Japan and to bolster American post-war military reach. In November 1945, the program is renamed. Ordnance Corps officers begin attaching paperclips to the personnel files of the German scientists they wish to retain in the United States, in order to flag those candidates whose Nazi affiliations were considered the most problematic. The operation acquired its lasting name, Paperclip. On the 3rd of September 1946, over a year after the German surrender, President Harry Truman formally approves the program through the directive SWNCC 257/22. Truman's approval comes with more of an explicit stipulation. Nobody who had been more than a nominal member of the Nazi Party is to be admitted. And I'm sure what won't surprise many of you, that stipulation was systematically ignored. The agency tasked with running the program is the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, the JIDA. The historian Annie Jacobson, in her 2014 book on Paperclip, documented that the JIDA's working method in detail. The agency, in her analysis, operated independently of the State Department, the President and the White House. It rewrote dossiers, it downgraded Nazi Party membership from active to nominal, it removed SS ranks from their records, and it exercised references to slave labour and human experimentation. An early draft of the Wernher von Braun security review described him as, quote, a security risk. What a shock. The final version, prepared by the JIDA, described him as, quote, great value to the war effort. Arthur Rudolph's original file noted his enthusiasm for using concentration camp labour. The sanitised version concluded that he was not an ardent Nazi. Over the course of the operation, 1945 through 1959, more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers and technicians were brought to the US. The patent and industrial process they brought with them have been valued at over $10 billion in the mid-20th century terms. They worked on rockets, missiles, jet engines, supersonic aerodynamics, guidance systems, biological chemical warfare, and aerospace medicine. Now, we've spoken about it in the channel before, and I'm sure we'll do some more episodes on it, just how far advanced and ahead that the Nazis were before the war and during the war in a lot of military tech. Something that until I started going down these rabbit holes, I could not know or believe. So it's no surprise that the US wouldn't want any of that knowledge wasted or even in different / wrong hands. Now, the fact that they brought them to the US in such huge numbers, I think will always be a contested point. Where could they have gone elsewhere? I truly don't know. But the three names that matter the most: Wernher von Braun, director of the V2 rocket program; SS officer, member of the Nazi Party, visited Mittelwerk, the underground V2 production facility where prisoners from the Dora concentration camp worked, in his own later admission, in conditions he found disturbing. After the war, brought to Fort Bliss, Texas, then Huntsville, Alabama, and eventually NASA, designer of the Saturn V rocket. Public face of American space ambition. He died in 1977 in Alexandria, Virginia. Somehow a respected American. Arthur Rudolph, operation director for the V2 production at Mittelwerk. Documents available in declassified American and German archives indicate Rudolph was an active proponent of using concentration camp labour. He personally visited Buchenwald to select prisoners and is recorded as having to order the public hanging of prisoners who failed to meet production quotas within sight of the assembly line. After the war, brought to the United States. At NASA, served as project director for the Saturn V launch program in 1984. After the United States Department of Justice opened a war crime investigation, Rudolph renounced his American citizenship and returned to West Germany rather than face trial. That is a piece of information I've not heard before. That is nuts. It's the blind leading the blind. Hubertus Strughold, director of the Luftwaffe Institute for Aviation Medicine, linked through documents gathered by the Allied investigator Dr. Leopold Alexander in 1945 to medical experiments conducted on prisoners at Dachau. Strughold was brought to the United States and built a long career as a so-called father of space medicine. From 1963 to 2013, that's 50 years, the most prestigious award offered by the American Aerospace Medicine Association Space Medicine Branch was named after him. The award was discontinued in 2013 after a Wall Street Journal investigation reopened the question of his wartime conduct. What is going on in the 1900s in the US? These three are not exceptions, they are representative. Kurt Blome, Deputy Surgeon General of the Third Reich, head of its biological warfare program, was on the paperclip recruitment list. Walter Schreiber, after a Boston Globe story linked him to the grotesque experiments at Ravensbrück concentration camp shortly after his arrival in the United States in 1951, was relocated by the JIDA to Argentina. That's always an interesting one. Rather than have his case publicly tested. We will definitely be doing some Argentinian links to the Germans. Now the counter-narrative. Defenders of Operation Paperclip make several arguments that historians have, on the whole, taken seriously. 1. The Soviet Union ran a parallel program, which forcibly relocated approximately 2,500 German scientists, engineers and skilled technicians, along with their families, to the Soviet Union in October 1946. American policymakers in 1945 and 46 had legitimate reason to believe that any German scientists not recruited by the United States would end up serving the Soviet rocket programs as well as their weapon programs. The strategic argument was real. As I said earlier, you do see some logic in that. These men are so skilled that it's very unlikely that their skills are not going to be unwanted, and they're going to find a different method or arena to express the skills that they have. 2. Some of the technical expertise was in fact decisive. Wernher von Braun's team did accelerate American rocket development by an estimated several years. The Saturn project did put humans on the moon. The Cold War would have been fought very differently, possibly worse, without the paperclip transfer. 3. Not every paperclip recruit was a Nazi war criminal. That's an outrageous statement to say. Not every paperclip recruitment was a Nazi war criminal. Well done, boys. Good vetting. The program included engineers, scientists, and technicians whose party membership was genuinely nominal, who are not personally implicated in the atrocities and whose work was not, even on the closest scrutiny, raise legitimate moral concern. God, that is a baffling statement to make. These arguments do not, however, dissolve the central problem. The historical records established through declassified documents and German court proceedings, and the work of mainstream historians like Annie Jacobsen, Linda Hunt, and Eric Lichtblau, that the JIDA systematically and knowingly admitted individuals who conduct themselves under Nazi regime placed on Truman's own exclusion list while certifying to the president that those individuals were in fact eligible. So that's our first quick brief overview of Operation Paperclip, a 14-year program that brought over 1,600 German scientists into the United States with Nazi affiliation whitewashed from their files in defiance of the president's own stipulation on the strategic logic. The alternative was Soviet acquisition of the same expertise. It accelerated American rocketry, it put humans on the moon, and it also folded a non-trivial number of individuals with documented connections to slave labour and human experiments into the upper ranks of post-war American science, and it protected them from public accountability for decades. This is another nuts episode, and one we will definitely go back to, because the framework of some conspiracy philosophical debate revolves so much around the context of this operation. If you enjoyed the episode, please give us a like and subscribe. As ever, if we've missed anything, misrepresented something, or overestimated something, please let us know and we'll discuss it all in the comments. Thank you very much for joining us on this one. We will see you in the next one, episode 59.